Let the streaming
Oh,
begin.
you're supposed to do the one silently. Didn't Wayne's World teach you anything?
It did teach me. I just forgot. I'm a failure. I've disappointed Aurora, Illinois.
We'll have to do it all over again.
You're a failure, Pedro.
It's like, guys, you're nodding. So welcome to World Walkers, Refugees of Rhalanas. I am Pedro.
We talk about Wayne's World.
Where we talk about Wayne's World consistently. And Wayne's World 2, which I think is underrated. I actually really enjoyed that one.
Game on.
Game on! I'm Pedro, the DM. And, I spent so much time trying to remember to call myself the GM and creator of World Walkers because I used to run so many different games. I would run Cortex and White Wolf games, Pathfinder, D&D. I only run D&D now.
This isn't a dungeon though. This is a game. This is worlds. You are the game master.
Yeah, I go back and forth. But I am the creator and operator, the game master for the World Walkers universe. With me going on my side clockwise, Evie.
Hi, I'm Evie. I play a bear. He's pretty cool, I guess.
What's his name?
His name is Mathias.
There you go. Josh?
I play a turtle named Tap, trying to revitalize his lost civilization and race.
Yep. And then Raven?
I play an Oaken Paladin wizard named Larix.
All right. Someone, I think it was in yesterday's episode, we had a visit from one of the old school players in my old games, Nathan, playing a wizard named Leviathan. And he was like, wait, are you all spellcasters? And they're like, everyone but the NPC, yeah.
Yeah, every single player character is a spellcaster.
I can change that. Guys, I've got characters lined up.
But I mean, you
Any
say
excuse
that,
for
but
Jenkins.
I'm also a paladin, so it's kind of like I can get up into a face.
Yeah.
I've been trying to come up with characters for the Patreon thing, and I keep coming up with characters I want to play. And I'm like, well, now I have to play this character.
It is a little odd that the only one of us who's really fragile is the bard. Bards are usually a little bit better in the AC and armor.
And the funny thing about that is the bard usually gets up in the face first.
Yeah. Like I'm a not pure wizard, but I'm a wizard rogue. But because of the turtle build, that was engineered to give a little better.
If you combined them, you'd be a wogue.
Yes, you would.
Mm-hmm. So one of the patrons is my wife's grandma, and she called me up today and she's like, so I've been thinking a lot about my character. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, I watched the video. I get to make a character, don't I? And I was like, yeah. I was gonna message you. And she's like, well, I already know my character. And she's like, my character is a shapeshifter. And I was like, what? He's like, it's a shapeshifter who he guards a section of the forest wherever the guild has their base or whatever they live in. And I was like, right. He's like, he lives as a tree. His name is Stumpy. And he talks with all the trees in the forest and he makes sure that everyone's safe.
This sounds like a dope
character.
character.
I was like, and that's my character. And I was like, thanks, Grandma.
This is a dope character.
I know, this is kind of badass. She's like, that's all you need to know about him.
You can make that work on COG.
I was like, this is really fucking cool. She's like, that's all you need to know about him. I was like, you're like hinting that there's more and I don't get to be privy to it. She's like, don't worry about it.
I mean, she's not the one that's going to be playing it.
I know. It's just weird that I'm cut off from more information.
I want to know more.
Yeah, I
That's
was
on a
like,
need-to-know basis.
there are layers to this shit.
It's like an onion.
I don't
Later
know.
we'll find out it's some relative of Bertlebee's.
Yeah, like she's fucking like she's got a hand and she's not playing the whole hand. Whatever. Like,
I mean, she's already winning, so
I know. Yeah, so it's pretty cool.
I told I told my friends like, hey, so my DM told me to make a character, and he said go nuts, and they
So
were
you
like,
made a squirrel?
they were like, they were like, whoa,
They made
whoa,
a
whoa.
dog.
They told you, Evie, to go nuts. I'm like, yeah, and they're like, that sounds like a fucking mistake. And then I told them my character idea, and they were like, yep.
They got what they asked for, huh?
I've pretty much got my character idea, and it's pretty tame.
It's cool. It's cool. I like. There's been a number of people who are just taking their old characters and like essentially retiring them into the lore, which
because
is
you
pretty
told
cool.
me to go nuts. I'm going fucking nuts.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for you to contact me so I can tell you.
People are going to start
Steve
getting contacted
Jenkins,
next week. Like once the offer is like run through and I get
Okay, good.
all these games out of the way this week.
I hope
So
no
is
one
this, is this Jenkins' older and nuttier cousin here?
No, it's something completely different.
I hope people don't see mine as self-centered.
No.
It's not myself, but
It'll be cool.
It is.
But
It's Raven.
yeah, it was pretty funny. She's like, and that's all you need to know about him.
Is this a fucking onion? There's more.
Well, Stumpy. So
Stumpy is the best character.
it's pretty sweet. All right. So last we left off, for those who are a little behind and don't know exactly what's going on, long story short, the refugees of Rhalanas are a troupe of characters. They used to be known as the Wayfarers. They were a guild on the world of fables, Rhalanas, that were hunting down this shadow, this kind of darkness that escaped a mirror that kind of gave hints of the future and showed the destinies of those who looked inside of it. Those seem like
yourself walking outside the church.
yeah, those seem like more innocent days. Since then, the group has escaped the world of Rhalanas as it seemingly collapsed on itself. They now find themselves on a world called Menroth, and they've been mixed up in the local hijinks of Kaladar, the Desert King of Bastok, as they try to find out what happened to their world. Half of their group is currently trying to defend this world from some sort of extraplanar menace in the form of a psionic bug. So that sounds like fun.
That was a result of our attempt at a little political intrigue.
Yes.
Now we're fighting alien bugs.
Meanwhile, the other half of the group, there was a little bit of a mishap, some hijinks, and they found themselves temporarily returned to their world. And when they were returned to that world, they found themselves in darkness, in a void. In the middle of that void, that endless void, they found the original church where they had first kind of convened and accepted their first mission together. In between them and that church was a figure who stood tall and could not seem to make it to the church himself. Later, they had kind of ascertained that they believed that figure was Hobson, the god of wisdom, a not too well-known mythical figure on the world of Rhalanas. And they had come to believe that what they had returned to was what was left of Rhalanas. The church itself kind of seemed to be standing along with them on a never-ending plane of parchment, and fearing that they would not be able to get back in time, not wanting to lose this lead on the first time they'd ever been able to make it back to their home world, they had, at the first chance they got, worked with a local wizard from Menroth to return to that home plane. So we're going to kind of play that scene out real fast, even though that wizard's not here. So what happened was, the Desert King called in a favor. He brought in one of the most powerful wizards of the island that they're on the world of Menroth. And so when he was summoned, the first thing that happened, I believe, was that Larix had asked if the armor that he was wearing could be disenchanted so that he could...
Not wearing, but I was carrying in my bag.
Carrying.
I was,
Sorry.
yes.
Sorry, I got it mixed up. Yeah, wanted the armor to be made in such a way that he could actually wear it. Right?
Because otherwise,
No,
it's
just disenchanted.
Just enchanted.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
because it's a oaken, right?
Yep.
And that's
Okay.
kind of fucked up to wear the skin of your brethren.
Why? Okay, I could not remember the context of this armor, so I was
Yeah.
like,
It ain't gonna stop tap. I'll tell you now.
yeah, yeah. So that he had gone ahead and handled that business, and then
Nice.
the group asked if he could open some sort of portal to get them back to their world. Now, previously they had been told that that was impossible, that there was no way to simply walk back to their world.
We were
That
lied
was
to.
well, no, it weren't necessarily lied to, but that was before they
Well,
met.
Yeah, the Horizon Walkers weren't able to get back there.
Right. But this particular wizard, by the name of Leviathan, had a bit more power behind his arcane workings than the Horizon Walkers, and he was able to actually rip open a portal in the throne room. The only thing he asked before you guys left, you guys weren't there, so we're going to assume you said yes. I hope you guys say yes, otherwise it makes this story really complicated. He had asked for your true names before you left as a form of payment.
Oh, okay.
I shall acquiesce under duress.
Yes.
Yeah, sure, whatever.
Yep.
I gave him the name Larix.
Okay.
But my eyes were really squinting when I gave that.
And with that, he was able to open a portal using the gate spell.
I figured he was going to banish us.
Nope, doesn't have that.
Yeah, that unfortunately would be either very temporary or very permanent, I think.
But he warned you that he's not. He seemed pretty straightforward and no nonsense, and he warned you that he does not have the time or the temperament to sit around and pull you guys back.
It's fair.
And knowing this may be your only option, you three and Paddington, I presume, walk through the portal.
Yep. I don't hesitate.
I skip into the portal.
Yeah, as I walk through the portal, last echoey shout of "Don't screw this up!" Echoes in the castle.
All right. Notes over here.
I see Phil Collins is watching us today.
Always Collins. He's not going to let you lose that
Today and
number.
every day.
Here. So you walk through the gate, and there's that kind of like that surge of portal energy that rushes around and through you, and then behind you, as you once again find yourselves in the darkness, the void, the emptiness that kind of goes on into infinity. Ahead of you, about 100 yards away or 100 feet away, is the church. In between you and that, again, is the figure with the kind of faded ginger hair, ponytail.
I didn't realize we were actually that close to the church.
This time you are.
Oh,
It's a goblin. Kill it.
The brown robes.
How close did you say we were?
100 feet away from the church now.
Okay, a little closer than last time.
Just a little.
Yeah. Hands in the pocket. Shoulders sagged.
damn, we should have brought somebody we could throw.
That's true. We're all very large characters.
Yeah, I can teleport, but somehow I don't think that's going to help.
And there's a definitely a weight on the shoulders still, and then the figure slowly turns and looks back to you and says, "Oh, you've returned."
Hello again.
Except me,
This time to lend a hand.
His eyebrows kind of rise.
Any way we can.
We presume your name is Hobson?
But that is his eyebrows raise even further.
They're not on his head anymore. They have extended off of his face.
Wow.
He is a cartoon character.
Paddington is kind of behind you guys and a little nervous.
That's okay.
I think Mathias is taking this all in because this is his first time being here.
I'm still kind of watching the parchment,
Yeah,
seeing if I can read anything.
it's kind of nondescript at this point.
Okay.
Well, the gentleman that you believe is Hobson, previously those who were here saw that he could not seem to get closer to the church, but he's able to walk closer to you. He takes a few steps forward. You are?
I'm Mathias. Hi.
My name is Tap, and our friend Larix here was the one who pieced together the puzzle as to who you may be. We're not entirely sure.
Greetings.
I'm just still Paddington. Oh. Huh. If you can come and go as you please, you must be very powerful individuals.
We came and went once against our will, and our current trip was a one-way trip, unfortunately. We were aided by a powerful wizard, but I wouldn't go as far to say as we could come and go as we please.
I've been mulling a lot, so forgive me, I don't recall. But I would hazard a guess that you're all from Rhalanas. Kind of looks you all over.
That we are. The first time we were temporarily banished.
So, do you know what's going on here?
All we know is we were in the middle of something with the heart of the forest, and we were transported off-world in a hurry.
We were with the Guardian Zell at the time. He seemed quite perturbed.
You were the first.
The first?
Mm-hmm. Zell must have... Zell said there was a group of adventurers that he had gotten off of the world first before he contacted me.
Ah.
That must have been us.
It must have been.
Probably.
So Zell is still around.
Yes, Zell is safe, along with a number of individuals.
Well, that's
fantastic.
That's a bit of a relief.
And he turns around and tries to walk closer to the church, but to no avail.
I look down at the ground. What is this?
He looks down and he's like, This is Rhalanas trying to find itself.
Is there any way we could help?
That is why we're here, after all.
Let's stop some things for a second. How well do you know Rhalanas?
I've been alive for quite a number of years.
I thought I knew it well, but less and less over time.
I know the forest pretty decently.
Tries to think for a moment. Tell me what you know of Rhalanas. Kind of adjusts his half spectacles.
Well, I believe it's not called the World of Fables for nothing.
Kind of smiles at that.
Everything on Rhalanas was powered by stories or their effects or circumstances. Everything revolved around them in one way or another.
This is true.
I just look down and I just say the world of fables existed because of stories, from what I'm gathering.
He kind of sighs and he says, kind of starts to kind of scratch his head a little bit, and he says, Rhalanas is one long story. And he kneels down and he kind of lightly brushes his hand across the parchment on the floor. And he says, Rhalanas was my story. It was a story that I wanted to see come to life. So I let the story spin out into its own world. Now, I don't quite know what happened, but it started to collapse. One of the cornerstones of our world unraveled.
Hobson's Tower?
He looks up at you. Why do you say that?
Just before we left, Zell noticed something in his book. We caught a glimpse of the word Ozin's Tower before we were ejected.
It's possible. Zella tried saying something about the past. And I don't know if it's Ozin Tower or not, but he stands up and he says, Rhalanas isn't quite like other worlds. A world like Obrimos. Then he stops and says, forgive me, you might not be familiar with other worlds, but...
Only the two so far.
He stops and thinks for a second. Well, a world like Rhalanas can't stand up to the ravages of the alterations of time. Can't simply change things. Whatever has happened has, well, it's done something terrible to our world. It's caused it to collapse.
I have another question for later, but our guild was tasked with searching out something that came from the Mirror of Wisdom.
Which makes it ironic that
Possibly
this
from
church
the
is
future.
Let me think on that for it. Well, the Mirror of Wisdom?
Yes.
And he looks over
In the
to the
church.
church.
And the mirror was broken in the process. But then shortly after we started on that, we discovered some type of shadow creatures invading people's dreams and killing them.
That
The Kulufel
Kulufel.
is what the hobgoblins referred to it as.
No, the Kulufel wouldn't have come from the mirror. You're talking about something completely different.
Yes.
No,
It
we had
seemed to be
two-
two different things going on at the same time.
I think there's a bit of confusion. Let me try to clear the air on some things. Yes, I think let me try and clear some things up for you. And he seems very measured. He seems very like paced, kind of methodical. And he doesn't seem like he's burdened with trying to give you as much information as possible. He seems like what he really wants to do is try to figure out how he can help you understand. Like he's not trying to sit there and just, I have to tell you everything as fast as possible. Like he keeps trying to figure out, what can I tell you and then help you understand it. So he keeps taking a step back and go, hold on. First, why don't you ask me some questions and I can help you understand different aspects of where you're at?
Well, my first question would be is, if this was your story, how come so many people forgot about you?
Because I'm more interested. I never wrote myself down as the, how do I put this? That's a very complicated question, and he kind of laughs to himself. He says, I believe the children of Rhalanas refer to me as a god.
Yes.
That is not something I wrote. And he kind of laughs to himself, and he's like, we have many names across the worlds. Gods is one of them. Again, not something I came up with. I've always been fond of the term wizards. It's simple. It denotes a bit of power, but it does not prescribe any sort of divinity to us. And he kind of feels a little uncomfortable talking about this, and he says, some of us sat down and very much wished to create worlds for different purposes. Some of the worlds were created to give order. Some of the worlds were created to give a sort of a sanctuary. Some of the worlds were meant to create a seal to help protect. I never really meant to sit down and create a world as much as I just wanted to help understand what was happening with everything. And I found that there was more truth in story than in a lot of the other things that were happening out there. And I didn't quite know how to express that truth in anything but story. And so when it came time to find a way to bring this expression, I thought it best to bring that story not just in a book or some other form of art, but in true creation. And so I brought together the architects and I decided to give it life. And so I decided to bring these stories all together through Rhalanas. And so it didn't seem necessary to insert myself in all of this. Does that answer the question?
So you didn't cause things to happen. They just happen naturally on their own.
This essentially,
I say as thinking about my past.
I suppose so. Well, it's a fairly complex concept, I suppose, but
So I'm not here because you created me.
correct.
Only because you created the world.
Yes.
With us being a part of this world, do we have any chance of bringing it back.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. But that's the beauty and the complexity of Rhalanas is I would give anything to simply wave a hand and just bring Rhalanas back. If I could, I would take out a piece of paper and I would just write the next chapter of Rhalanas, and I would just have it come to fruition.
That wouldn't be very dramatic, though, would it?
That is the beauty and the complexity of Rhalanas.
Tap makes at him.
The strength of Rhalanas comes from its stories. If I were to simply try to bring it back, it would be fragile. It would fall apart at the next inconvenience. That's what makes Rhalanas beautiful and strong and powerful, but it's also what makes Rhalanas difficult. Rhalanas cannot simply be wished back into existence. Rhalanas needs to be rebuilt. And he looks to all of you by its children. It needs...
By rebuilding, you mean it would not be the same as it was when it became this?
Well, rebuild or build anew? Is that what you're asking?
Basically.
Here is my concern. If indeed something happened to Rhalanas' past, as it's starting to look like, that's what would have caused it to shatter. So when you bring Rhalanas back, it will not look like it used to. I don't know what sort of Rhalanas you'll bring forth.
What about the people?
I don't know. You'll have to venture forth and bring back a Rhalanas that you may not recognize, but it'll always be Rhalanas, because at the heart of Rhalanas is its story.
Forgive me for asking such a question, but how much power exactly do you have?
Considerable, but it does have its limits.
I pull out of my backpack a bunch of straw and hold it towards him. Would you be able to bring him back?
What is it?
It was a friend.
Another child of Rhalanas.
Yes.
Arthur.
That's correct.
Indeed.
I can send you to him.
What do you mean?
I feel like there's a but after that sentence.
Well, do you know how resurrection works?
Not really.
So,
I know a little bit, not very much.
it's a common misconception as to the way resurrection works. A lot of people believe that you simply have a spell, you can bring someone back instantly. It's not actually true. There's only one being that can bring somebody back. That's the Archon of Light. The Archon has the only option for bringing someone's soul straight from where all people go. For everyone else, you have to travel to Sanctuary. So, I can, of course, open the passage to Sanctuary so that you can bring them back.
But we don't possess the spell to do so.
No, I can send you to Sanctuary so you can go retrieve them.
Oh. Oh.
Should we wait until after we're done here?
Probably.
I don't think he'd
There's no
mind.
right or wrong answer because this is going to be your story.
How long would it take?
I don't know.
I feel that will be there. This, we're unsure of.
If we're rewriting Rhalanas' story, who knows what will or will not be there when we're done.
Well, I feel like the souls, wherever they go, will still be there. Will they not?
Mm-hmm. Arthur's where Arthur's going to be.
Okay. Could we do this after we've helped Rhalanas?
You can always travel to Sanctuary whenever you would like to.
Would you be able to help us with that afterwards, or would we have to find someone else then?
I'd be more than happy to send you there.
Thank you.
I have a curiosity. Which came first, the mirror or the story?
The story. The story by far. The mirror is actually not from here anyway.
Oh,
Yeah.
the priest said something, the guardian, custodian of the church said something interesting about the mirror predating almost everything on Rhalanas.
Yeah, technically, the mirror comes from a world called Menroth.
The
world we just came from.
Oh, yeah, sure. I didn't know that's
that
where
would
you
be
were.
the second world we visited.
Yes. Well, okay. I didn't know that's where you were at. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it comes.
We'd never heard of the mirror, though.
The mirror comes from a place called the Halls of Reflection, I believe.
It's interesting that that's the only object left here. Or is it?
What?
The
Well,
church containing the mirror?
I'm curious.
I don't know
something.
what's in the church. I can't get there.
I remember the priest saying that the mirror was here before the path. Was that true?
Are you asking the GM?
No, I was asking.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember the wording.
Yeah.
Technically, the GM.
Well, right. Hobson would say, that doesn't sound right to me. I believe somebody left Rhalanas to go grab.
So the path has been here as long as Rhalanas was here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's part of the story of Rhalanas.
I suppose we better get to work then. I still find it curious that that church is the only thing we can see here.
The church cannot be destroyed.
It is your church.
And then he clears his throat and he says, what you're going to have to do is what Zell was able to do was he was able to escort, basically remove as many important people and artifacts from Rhalanas as possible. Him and I were able to quickly move across Rhalanas and get these people, these artifacts, off of Rhalanas before it collapsed. We're hoping that by bringing these items and these people back, we can somehow bring the story of Rhalanas and tie it together, bring the narrative back, somehow restore Rhalanas that way. But it won't be easy, and it's going to take more than the people and the items they were connected to. And he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a small book. It's going to take a story. And he hands it to one of you. Who's taking it?
Okay.
All right. And he's like, it doesn't have to be just one of you. Any of you can write in it. And it's a book that's called The Traveler's Tale. And he's like, so here's what's going to have to happen. You're going to have to write about your journey.
From here on?
From here on.
Can I make a quick history check to see if I've ever heard of a book called The
You
Traveler's
haven't.
Tale?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's a brand new book. But this book is more than just
published this month.
Yeah. This book is more than just a journal. This book will actually help you travel as well.
Can I make an intelligence check, wondering if this is in any way connected to the travelers?
Oh, it's not.
Okay.
So he hands the book over to you and he says, this book is not just a journal though. This book will help you on your travels. You're going to have to travel from world to world to find the people and the artifacts that were scattered. All you have to do is write down where you want to go. The better the description, the more powerful the story you're telling, the more accurate your destination will be.
I'll be right back. Sorry.
Sure. So outside of game, what that means is if you write down that you want to go to Bastok, the more accurate your description of the area, the more likely it is you'll end up in Bastok, on Arcadia, on Menroth. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so he explains you'll want to start doing more research on different worlds. There are worlds you have not been to.
I figured.
That we have gathered. At least on Menroth, we seem to be the least experienced world traveler.
So we could start there. Figure out.
Do we know what was saved? Having never been to other worlds, we have neither a description of what we're looking for nor where to find it.
Correct. That's why the first person you're going to want to find is Zell. And Zell made his way to Hobson on Arcadia on Menroth.
Perfect.
One is on Arcadia?
Hobson?
Yeah, I didn't think that was.
I didn't know
out
it
of
was
game,
on
I thought that was on the main continent.
Yeah.
Oh.
You mean we were on our team?
Oh no, sorry. I did fuck that up. You're right. Osborne. yeah. Sorry,
we were there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did the captain get to an air continent?
Well, I looked
Sorry.
at.
I was trying to see if I could hear my kid coming in, and I got distracted, which she did. Hey guys. Hey. Aw, what's up?
Still love that haircut.
Can you shut the gate, please? No, Willow. I was asking Willow. Anyway, right. So
that's interesting that Zell would be on Menroth. We had a bit of a name confusion with the what did they call themselves? Horizon Walkers that knew a Zell on Menroth, but we thought it was two different people.
It's actually not too much of a coincidence. He carries a book much like the History Keepers do in Hobson.
Mm-hmm.
So, ma'am, you can ask him all about it. But he's the one that escorted a lot of the people off of Rhalanas, so you'll want to check with him. Once you rescue him, get a good look at the Church of Wisdom, because you'll want to write your way back here. This is the best place to bring people.
Well, fortunately, this is not the first time we've seen the church, or in fact, that's how we all met.
Well, then that.
Yeah.
Well, not me, but I think the entire time Mathias has been here, he's been writing down what he can of like what he can see in his journal.
I turn back to the others. Should we go get our friend first, since this is not going to be a short journey?
That depends on whether he wants to come back.
Man, he probably does.
Is this an out-of-game comment or an in-game comment? Because out-of-game, I know the answer.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is, Raven.
Yes, he would want to come back out of game.
Okay, yeah. If we're confident Data wants his character back, then I'm okay with that.
Because would we be able to travel from Sanctuary straight to Zell?
Are you asking
Hobson?
Hobson says that unfortunately. Wait, sorry. Let me think back. He said with that book.
Yes.
With that book and that book alone, yes. That is one thing you need to keep in mind. That book and he gave you a quill as well. That book and that quill will take you in and out of Sanctuary. That is the only way to leave Sanctuary. It is very difficult. And he kind of looks to the side. Sanctuary wasn't meant to be traveled in and out of. Sanctuary is not a world like the other worlds. You should understand what Sanctuary is. And he kind of straightens himself up. Do you understand what Sanctuary is?
No.
Life and death.
Unless it's the underworld of the forest of Rhalanas.
It's the afterlife.
What problems could we face by going there?
Not only would you be altering your perceptions irrevocably, not only will you be facing an entirely new perception of reality, but you may face the reality that your friend may not want to come back.
He was a fickle person.
And you may find that Sanctuary may not want you to be able to come in and out. So be careful.
That sounds like a after our thing.
Be very careful with that book. It's also important for you to know. I'm not the one that made Sanctuary. So
cool.
Also understand that that book does not work without that quill, and that quill does not work without that book.
That is good to know.
He looks very uncomfortable talking about this part, so he moves on. Now then, to go back to something else you were talking about, something I wanted to bring up as well, it's important to know that there are those who do not want you to thread the bindings of the Book of Rhalanas. And one of those is the entity that you had brought up previously. That shadow that pulled itself from the mirror.
Right.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure what that creature, that entity is. That mirror, like I said, it comes from my friend Gasper's world. I have no idea exactly what that entity is, but it seems to hate Rhalanas. Whatever it was planning before, it'll no doubt be tracking you from here on out.
Out of game question.
Sure.
When I made the priest have the nightmare and I was coming out of the mirror, did I know what I looked like to him?
Real talk? Maybe. Like, great question. Amazing insight. I'd have given you a point of inspiration. I don't remember, Raven. I'm really sorry. Like,
that's all right.
I'm an honest GM, if nothing else.
Yeah. Because I was wondering if remembering what it looked like would have helped us figure out what it was.
Right.
I do have one more question about the book.
Sure.
You said to write down the location of where we want to go.
Yes.
Does it need to be a description of a place or a person, an object?
Well, here's an example, if I can. There's a difference between saying, and like you could, here's two examples you could write down, and like, you know, he pretends to write at this point, like he puts his hand out and then he holds a fake quill, and he says, "Are you going to write in past tense or present tense?"
Present tense.
Present tense. And so quickly we grabbed, and so with that we vanish into the ether, and we totally appear in Corsetto. That's one way to write it.
Very
nondescript.
All right. Good luck. The other way you could write it is, and I'm no good at present tense, so I'm going to write past tense.
Past tense is fine too.
Okay, good. I'm terrible at present tense. I really get tripped up, and then I'm like, well, what about, and then... Anyway, sorry. So, past tense. I'm really bad at past tense. Okay.
Yeah, conditional subjunctive is it's a hazard, yeah.
Right, thank you. So, I would grab my book, and then I would say, the group panicked, and realizing that we only had one way to escape, despite the fact that we knew that we had to finish our objective here, the big bears formed a perimeter around me while the tree planted himself firmly in front of me. I whipped out my book and quickly began to scribble a destination. Before we knew it, we found ourselves in the cool summer breeze as we looked around and saw the setting sun of an almost too familiar location. The ringing bells of Corsetto filled our ears, and you see what I'm saying? Like not only am I writing that we're in the city of Corsetto, but we're right in the middle of the town square because we can hear the bells ringing. Like I can put myself, the more descriptive I get, the closer I can put myself exactly where I want to be.
I look at the
Good to know
book.
the.
How many pages does this have?
Well, it looks like it only has 100, but he doesn't seem to be concerned with how many pages it has.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a magic book. What the fuck do you expect?
I'm glad to see the book runs on stories as well.
Yeah, so like if you just write a city, like first off, what if there's two cities with the same name? What world are you going to end up on? Like you're just the more descriptive you are, like if you find a balance between descriptive, dramatic, like the book will take you where you need to be. What this means outside of game, because I know that we all are different players with different desires, different skill sets, right?
Yep.
You can roll performance.
God, we don't have the bard.
I was about to say, it sounds like we need to give this book to a bard.
I don't know about we.
Or you can actually write it. Or you can spend inspiration. Or you can do a combination thereof. Whatever is most fun for you.
God, you mean I'm gonna have to get back into writing, huh?
The better you do, the more you can pull off. And that doesn't mean just accuracy, but like you're basically gonna be able to with this book you'll be able to combine teleportation with Rhalanas narrative.
Rhalanas shenanigans, I like
right.
it.
So it's not just like a teleportation spell to get you to Bastok, but maybe it gets you to Bastok with like Rhalanas narrative behind it. So getting to Bastok, but getting there in time of something, or yeah, like there's some amazing story potential with this book because this was given to you by Hobson,
who's a pretty cool dude.
Yeah, and like
turns out he's not intimidating.
Yeah, we got to write a hell of a story in this book.
It's up to you. You guys, this book is as much or as little as you want.
Very cool.
So he also says, so that shadowy presence is definitely one of these things that you're gonna have to watch out for. But there's also something else. And he kind of looks up into the sky. And he says, this void, it's not nothingness.
It reminds me of something.
He says, it's actually the suffering that exists within the dreaming.
That's
And he
what
kind
I was
of
afraid of.
throws his hands in his pocket and shrugs. And he says, for some reason, it wants to wrap itself around Rhalanas. I'm not really sure why. Since I can't dream, it can't approach any further. And I can't get any closer to it, and it can't get any closer to me. I don't really
That's
understand
probably a
it.
good thing.
Yeah.
One thing we ran into was when we would put someone to sleep, they would die. If
On
they
Rhalanas.
I'm sorry, hold on.
nightmare
What's up?
on Rhalanas. If we cast sleep on somebody and they fell asleep, they would die.
The Kulufel, the Dream Eater, the nightmares, they were becoming a very, very serious problem. at the time we were sent, it was a more pressing problem than the other shadow creature.
I would try to dream walk, and these creatures would kill the person in their dream. But they could not affect me while I was in the dream.
What? Oh.
Maybe I should let you know what we were doing at the time, doing in the heart of the forest at the time we were banished. We had just prevented a incredible number of these nightmares from destroying the heart of the forest. They were bent on taking over everything they could.
Paddington steps up and he says, the hobgoblins, they seemed pretty consumed by it. They kept talking about the Kulu Fell and the heart of the forest, and you should... Yisrael, is she... We should find Yisrael, and Hobson kind of nods and says, I need to learn more about this. When you find Zell, Yisrael's someone who... Yeah, Zell, find out if Yisrael's someone he got out of there.
Would I know who Yisrael is?
Did you guys meet her? She was...
I thought
she was the
yeah,
forest
that's
guy.
right. That's right. Sorry, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
That was when I first joined the game.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you met her. She was like
That's right.
God, Raven, how can't you remember stuff from months ago?
What'd we do last week?
Yeah. So
what did I eat for lunch?
he says, well, that's troubling. These... There's something about these that look familiar, and I don't know what it is. But I can't affect them. I can't. They're right outside the edge of my existence.
Well, I don't want to try to dream walk right now, surrounded by them.
Well, I guess... Oh.
Unless you felt that you could do something if something happened.
No, I can't at all.
I think the only other piece of info we had was Yisrael seemed to think it had something to do with the Sipinus.
That's an old name. It doesn't go by that anymore. It's just Patch.
Would I recognize Patch?
No.
I know his name came up in the conversation, but I don't know how he was related.
Oh, you guys would... Sorry, you'd probably know him as Nox. You know that. The God of Dreams.
Yes.
I kind of put my hand on my breastplate.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Yeah, God of Dreams. You'd probably at least heard of him. He's walking with the
I absolutely heard of him. It's just like for a while we had like two people who were desperately devoted.
Yeah.
Who is he?
No offense. Can I follow two gods at the same time?
I think that's all we knew about it, isn't it?
I think so. And he's like, well, whatever. These nightmares, they're not going to get any closer. And now that I know about them, they're not going to get anyone in the church. So it's still safe to bring everyone to the church.
Neato.
Well,
Is
that's
that
good.
just
One
now,
problem at a time.
or what? Is that just now, or was that before also?
No, it's now.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
No reason. Asking for a friend.
Yeah. But,
It definitely wasn't safe before.
but no, find Zell, bring him here, and then you guys can all start working on the story from there.
Alrighty.
He's trying to think of more, and he says, well, is there anything else that I can help you with before you go?
You wouldn't happen to have something we could keep the book and the quill safe in, would you? No.
Oh.
Figured I'd ask.
We will have to find something to keep it protected.
Ah, you've got a shell there.
Tap tucks it under the shield. Although, actually, we'll probably need that to get out of here. Tap takes it right back out.
I do want to take the oaken armor out of my backpack and set it on the ground. Do I see any words come up under it?
You do. When you put it down, you see some words from underneath it, and it looks like it's almost like a thesaurus that fills up underneath it. Yeah, so it says oaken, but then in another, like a slightly variant version of common, it says forged. And then in another slightly variant version of it, it says Regi.
This is an interesting world.
I pick it back up and put it in my backpack. Decide to leave it in the church when we can get to it.
Oh, all right. I guess we should be on our way.
Did we decide to retrieve Arthur first?
I think we should save that till after we, help Rhalanas.
Well, maybe at least go to Zell first.
Yeah.
Then we probably need the rest of the group for...
Yeah, so real quick, out of game, I think they need to finish their battle with their current participants before Arthur appears.
I mean, well...
We bamf in the middle.
I was about to say, we've got a book. We can write a great story to bamf in without knowing how the battle is going at all.
That's true.
Well, then, it's up to you from here on out.
Would you be able to tell us how our friends are faring in their quest?
Sure. You want me to essentially just scry on them?
Would you be able to?
Absolutely.
I figure after we get Zell, we're going to go to them if they're in trouble.
Sure. Would you like me to look upon them right now?
Please.
If
you could.
That would be lovely.
I can do that. But first, let me take a moment. I need to speak with you, okay? There's some things you need to know before you go.
He's talking to Larix or
all of you? All of you.
Oh.
Matthias has his journal out and he's ready to scribble this all down. And by that, I mean Callie's taking notes in the chat.
So the first thing he says, there are many people that you're going to have to retrieve and bring to the church. There are many artifacts, representations of Rhalanas that you're going to have to gather and keep safe. Obviously, you're going to have to establish relationships, bonds, because not everybody that you retrieve is going to have the best interests of Rhalanas in their hearts. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
For instance, the Iron Giants of Melkor. You retrieve their leader and bring them to the church. And then you retrieve, say, the Wishing Well. The all-powerful, world-shaping artifact that's kept in Ozen Tower. What's to keep the Iron Giants from seizing the Wishing Well and reshaping all of Rhalanas?
So we should save the Wishing Well for last.
We have one big room in which to deposit a lot of dangerous.
You're going to have to win the hearts and minds of those that you bring into this. We need all of Rhalanas to be united on this.
We need a bard.
When you bring the Guardian, and he brings the Gauntlet, there are those who would love to take the chance to slay the Guardian and seize his power. You're not just bringing people into a room and hoping they get along.
We have to make sure they get along.
Yes, we've tried that before.
Well, we'll have to try it.
This will be an interesting quest.
Now, there's one more individual that you're going to have to retrieve. You can bring together the people. You can bring together the artifacts. You can bring together all of this stuff. It's all very important. But there's one last individual that you'll have to retrieve to ensure that Rhalanas is rebuilt. Everything else is important, but the actual shaping of Rhalanas cannot be done without the architect.
He's going to say who I think he is, isn't he?
The architect has to be brought, but the architect has to be brought last.
They were the one that constructed Rhalanas to begin with?
Well, the architects constructed Rhalanas, but they're no more. There's only one architect left. You'll have to find that architect at the end. Find the rest of these individuals. Then find an individual named Tompkins. They'll be able to rebuild. They'll be able to rebuild the world.
Not really a builder's name, is it?
No, that is a bit of a strange name, isn't it?
I didn't name him.
I love looking in the chat because Dad is freaking out and he's like, "Damn it, we have to raid the dream team."
Oh God, I hope we don't have to fight them.
Come on, guys, let's fight. They're way better than us in every way. They will crush us.
So there's no telling what the effects of the evacuation of Rhalanas has had on everyone else as well.
Yeah.
You all seem to be fairly well intact, but
physically, not mentally.
But I just want you to know
about you, but I am.
I just want you to know that though I've never seen you or met you till now, and I've always carried your stories in my heart, and that you have all been my children.
Well, that's nice.
That's nice of you to say.
And with that, he nods at you. And
guiltily of my past.
Oh, with that, he nods at you and he says, I can't wait to read your story.
Neither can we. All right, let's write in this book.
What's the first thing you write in your book?
I go over to Hobson real quick and kind of whisper, so which was your favorite story?
And then he stops and thinks. He goes, "No, you wanted to see your friends. Forgive me." And so,
Oh, yes.
so he sits down and he cracks his hands.
Oh, that's right.
And then he brushes some of the parchment in front of him. And then he kind of forms a quill in his hand, and he starts to scribble on there. And as he starts to write, the page kind of bursts to life. And then before you, the scene erupts around you. And then suddenly you can see yourselves in this huge, like sand burst all around you. And then suddenly you find yourself in a scene as if you're there with your companions. And you see the Desert King of Bastok. And he has this blank expression in his eyes. And his sword is no longer bursting with this red energy, but he has his foot on the chest of one of your companions, the Horizon Walker who had joined you, and he's laying there and he's almost dying. His Kaladar's sword is buried in his chest, and you can see his Valerie is blank in expression, and he's like she's terrified to move forward, and the group isn't quite sure what to do. And it looks like they're on the verge of defeat, and somehow Kaladar's mind has been taken, and there's a whole bunch of Thri-Kreen who have been electrocuted to death. And then you watch as Leviathan steps forward and then shatters the enchantment that was on Kaladar. And then you watch as this purple blast erupts from up top from one of the sand skyways, and it slams into Leviathan. And then you can see that confidently Jaconus walks that sand walk, and then says, well, I see that it's you that's going to be the problem. And then confidently begins to prepare another spell, and the group looks like they're about ready to enter into the final moments of their battle. And then it comes back. And
do I happen to notice if the king was wearing his helmet?
He was wearing his helmet, and it didn't seem to do him any good. The group seems that they're getting ready to battle with Jaconus, and they all have their metal helmets, and it seems that they have no mental protection against Jaconus.
Well, that doesn't look good.
And so Hobson pulls back. He's like, huh.
Well,
are they in trouble?
It looks like it.
Yeah, honestly, that's about typical for us, but yes.
So now you guys have an opportunity. You have an hour and a half to continue playing. You can go about your business, or we can stop here and you can write yourself in the fucking battle and jump Jaconus next week. Up to you. It's up to you guys.
I really want to fucking jump Jaconus
because I didn't expect you guys. I didn't expect you guys to peek in. So it's up to you guys. You guys, since you peeked in, you have the chance with this fucking book to write yourself into the scene, and with this book, you have the chance to narratively write yourself into the scene in a combat advantageous position. But you lose an hour and a half of your game time, so that's up to you.
That would be.
I really want to. I really want to
be the literal Deus Ex Machina.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I want to be the fucking Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah.
I did not expect you guys to peek in. That's really funny.
Come on, you know I like breaking games.
No, it's sweet. It's a sweet idea. I wouldn't be mad. It's just really funny.
Data and Callie.
Oh, hey, scrying was on the mind.
Data and Callie are in chat, and they're like, "This is a fun scene to look in on."
That's funny. That was actually the part I had to stop before watching the stream, so I didn't even know about that yet.
Yeah. Just afterwards.
I literally watched the introductions of the characters, and then I jumped out. So I was like, "Oh,
well then,
biases."
So what do you guys think?
I'm okay doing a Deus Ex Machina. That would be a very Rhalanas thing to do.
Yeah, it would.
And it'd be an easy way to patch your stories back together really easy.
Yeah.
This is true. Yeah.
And I mean, we could really use the bard for this book.
Oh, we need that bard. She was saying, she was
Then
like,
performance checks.
she earlier in chat, she was like, I have a plus 11 to performance. Damn it, I chose the wrong team. We do need a bard with a high performance.
So do we have a consensus then? Are we doing a pulling a Deus Ex?
Oh, I want to do this Deus Ex.
Sure, why not?
I want to be the badass.
I was thinking about getting Zell first and then going to them, but we wouldn't have time to do that. So
it's hard to know how much time would have passed.
Well, you're in Rhalanas. It doesn't matter.
Well,
it's all a story.
Yeah. Are you talking about how much time has passed between?
Oh yeah, I mean, if we go fiddle around with Zell for a bit and then write ourselves in.
Oh, once you're back, the clock is running in San Dimas. Once you get back over to Menroth,
I think this right here.
Yeah, you'll miss the combat window once you get back over there because it's
Could we write Zell as teleporting in with us?
Nope.
Damn it!
Yeah.
Even that book has a limit, huh?
Yeah.
Deus Ex Machina with Zell.
Nope.
Quick, Zell, we need your help. Boom.
And it's great because they're watching right now, but Nathan won't know, so you guys can't tell Nathan.
Oh shit, he'll be here next week too?
Yeah, he's playing next week. Yeah.
Shit. Hell yeah.
Right.
So I'm gonna have you guys literally come in,
Just send we won't click the Zoom in.
Yeah, don't click the Zoom invite till I tell you.
Yeah. Should we have Pedro come into the group chat for our team so he can be like, hey, come in now?
Well, yeah, we'll have Discord up. Nathan's not in that Discord.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. Callie, Data, don't tell him.
Yeah, Data, I know how close you guys are. Don't fucking tell Nathan. All right, so
don't find his email address.
Oh man. Well, all right. Okay. Well,
good news is Callie promised already.
Yeah. So Dada's like, wait, what? We were just joking because Evie's like, don't tell him. Don't tell him, Dada.
Honestly, I forgot that he was in there again.
I do have one more question at least.
Oh, yeah.
If we need to get to you, would we be able to?
And he says, I might, if I can find a way into the church, I'll be a resource. But I've got to figure out why.
Would we be able to get you into the church?
I'm really hoping so. And he kind of punches you in the shoulder, like,
please help me.
That's actually a really good question because we are intimately familiar with the inside of that church. I wonder if this book could help us with that.
Certain things got cleaned up.
Yeah, well, more familiar than we would have liked to be, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, he's like, I'm a sort of a slave to this story as well, but he's like, I'm okay with that. And he kind of smiles.
Maybe that's the way it should be for all of us.
Well, good luck with your friends, and
we'll be back soon.
All right. This has been World Walkers, Refugees of Rhalanas. We will see you guys next week on Wednesday to see what happens when they make their dramatic entrance.
When we make our Deus Ex Machina. Deus Ex Machina.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
Bye.
Later.